And we are live on another beautiful Saturday morning, 11 a.m. We actually have a guest here today, but we'll wait for him to hook up. How's it going, Coin? Neil, I should say,
Good.
Coin Chaser.
Cheers. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, happy Saturday. So we got some interesting stuff to go over. Number one, Bitcoin obviously is at $50,000, which great. We're back up there. We're living the dream. I'm going to be talking about where we should be thinking about selling, right? Taking some profits on Bitcoin. So we'll be looking at the Bitcoin rainbow chart. But most excitingly is we're going to talk about some NFT stuff with Neil here. Specifically this amazing like horse NFT, like racehorse stuff where you breed racehorses. It's insane. I don't want to like get too much into it because he's going to explain and show you guys all of it. I thought it was fascinating when I watched it on Crypto Night in Canada over at the Tim and Dancy Danter channel. So obviously, really interesting stuff on it. I'm excited to have you on, Neil.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so first and foremost, we'll go ahead and look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart. So I wanted to illustrate this mainly because a lot of people might be asking, okay, when is it time to sell? So here in the Bitcoin rainbow chart, we have a couple of like different color-coded areas of Bitcoin where Bitcoin needs to be to have a sell. So for example, up here all the way up at the top red, which we've seen a couple of market peaks when we hit 20K Bitcoin, we went up to the red band up at the very top, which is a maximum bubble territory, which makes sense. That's where Bitcoin kind of deflated at that point. We popped, kind of went down and sunk from those moments. Then going into other bands, which the second band would be sell, seriously sell. And then the other band is FOMO intensifies. So these bands help you identify kind of when to take profits. Maybe not only for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin and the crypto market are one and the same. But I'd probably say that these are good indicators. So for example, right now we're in the hodl phase, right? We're in this yellow band. We're not really like at the top of it. We're not really at the bottom. We're just kind of sitting somewhere in the middle. What time would be nice to start taking profits is that bubble territory. So we actually passed through that bubble territory a little bit ago when we had that Wyckoff distribution stuff kind of go through. It seemed a little bit like trading sideways for Bitcoin. We had a lot of people that were taking a little bit of profits, a lot of people saying that they were idiots for taking profits. And then obviously the market took a turn. We went down all the way into these green bands. And then obviously these green bands will represent when to buy. So when something's cheap, for example, we're in that green band. If we go really down or we get into the accumulate zone, which is usually where we are through most bear markets, you see that back in 2019 and 2020. And then you have basically the fire sale, which we saw that with the COVID dip. And we've seen that a couple of other times throughout history. And I'm sure we're going to see more and more as the time goes on. So when people are asking, okay, when is it time to take profits? The Bitcoin rainbow chart is probably a good reference for you to go through. Two Chads, one rainbow. That's exactly it, Jared. That's exactly it. Good morning, Carlos. How's it going? So we'll go into a quick couple of articles, and then we're going to go into this NFT stuff because it's super exciting. So JP Morgan is concerned over Ethereum. As one big thing that we're seeing is JP Morgan and everyone are just warning everyone about cryptocurrency right now, warning everyone about the speculative bubble. And there's a lot of articles that they're coming out with specifically. They were saying, like, be careful of altcoins. You shouldn't be in the altcoin market. I'm going to listen to what they say, but look at what they do. And I do know that most of these organizations are actually dabbling into altcoins. So why are they saying something like this? Probably because they don't want everyone to get into some altcoins. And obviously there's going to be some garbage down there. But obviously there's going to be some really good tokens to take advantage of and earn a yield and an interest. Like even people are talking about, for example, like Ethereum and Cardano are not good coins, which obviously in my book, I'd say Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, all of those are probably the most stable coins. How's it going, Gary? And in terms of the crypto market over the last couple of days, and we've talked about this, where we saw the market basically dip a good what was it, 60%. We saw 40% dips on the daily over the last couple of days, or well, over the last days of the crash. So we saw how fast trillions of dollars wiped off the market. We were at like 2.4 trillion, went down to like 800 billion. So just in the last 30 days, 0.7 trillion came into cryptocurrency, which just shows how quickly everything can turn. Everyone was bearish a couple weeks ago, and now everything is kind of taking this turn where we are looking on the up and up and looking like we're going to continue the cycle. Whereas a lot of people say, like Alex Becker and a couple others, which I don't really take him seriously, but he was talking about how this was the market peak and we weren't going to get out of there. Neil, I'm curious for you. Like, what do you think? Like, what were you thinking when the market was dipping? Were you like, oh, it's all over, or did you have a kind of level head about it?
I was definitely nervous. There was two, but the last one was definitely the major correction, and I consolidated again and just kind of tried to make it a little bit more simple. But I recently bought a little bit, so I had to buy. To get into the NFT I'm going to talk about, I had to get ETH for it, and I just actually bought a bunch of Matic because it's just fast transactions, and if I want to buy another horse, I can do a really easy transfer for very inexpensive fees. Right. And I bought some VET, and it's just. I was actually talking about it a few weeks ago on Crypto Night about Phantom and VET, that they were both kind of talking to me, and I never did anything with Phantom. I went away for the weekend, saw some friends, got together with my parents, and that's when it exploded. So I was like, well, so I've gotten back in. I haven't really bought anything. I've just been farming, so I'm feeling a lot more comfortable and confident in the market as well.
Right. Yeah, I definitely altered some of my lower positions. A lot of my higher positions didn't change, but I think the big thing that changed for me during the dip, like, yeah, I was panicked just like everyone, right? Like that was a scary dip. Obviously, like I know that I'm here for the long term, so I didn't like it wasn't really like hurting me that much, but it is shocking seeing like your portfolio going down maybe like 50-60%, maybe even more. But I think at that point, I was really focused on just buying good high cap coins. So more Ethereum. I was dollar cost averaging Bitcoin at the time. And I haven't been buying Bitcoin since basically a little after March, April of 2020. So it's just kind of been like, okay, like if it's getting down to this low, and again, going back to that Bitcoin rainbow that we talked about, if it got down to that low, that's buying time, right? That's still a cheap price. The one I didn't let go of was VeChain, which is awesome that you bring that up. And I know, Jared, you love some VeChain. I convinced my mom to buy the dip, and now I'm the favorite kid. Yeah, I mean, like I convinced my parents to buy a little bit of cryptocurrency. So. Yeah,
my dad's asking about it, and he just turned 75, and he's asking. He's itching to get in. Like, he's always been into technology, but he's very much interested in what I'm doing. He wants to know, and he asked me to pull up my computer. So I actually kind of showed him what I'm doing in the farming.
Right.
He's just like, what do you mean it's 600%? I'm like, well, that's over time. I get that. Like, I don't get it right now.
Yeah.
Actually, I just was talking to him about that, and he's very interested.
Yeah, like I know
he's 75.
Yeah, so and it's a like I imagine it's a sort of barrier, right? Like being like a little bit like disconnected from technology, but also like understanding technology. Like, was he like a coder or something? Is that like why he's so like?
He's a mechanic.
He's a mechanic, huh?
Or was a mechanic.
So is he good with computers, or like does he dabble?
He just has always had an affinity for technology. I think that's where I have a love of. In high school, I was very much into car stereos. I had a tiny little car, and I just went nuts. And then one day I just said, "That's enough," and I pulled everything out because it kept going. But he's always loved TVs and stereos, and as you can see behind me, like I'm getting
like that.
I'm calling it the barn. I'm getting it
Yeah.
ready.
That's
I got
awesome.
somewhere for my stable, right? So I gotta have a
Yeah.
barn.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, my back in high school, we always had this place called the Barn. It was like this woodworking shop slash like hangout zone. Like the top of the barn was a loft, and we even had a bedroom, a spare bedroom in the back, just in case somebody got a little too much. Right, had to sleep it off. Yeah, so the barn resonates for me.
Nice.
That's really cool. Jared says he has his mom yield farming. I haven't got my parents yield farming yet, but that's hopefully that's next step. If you're watching, mom, I'll get you guys yield farming. So yeah, I think for me, like I know like I think you're in DFin too with Tim, right? Yeah. But I left DFin, not for any other reason other than just to re-put funds into PokerSwap for myself. What did you do? Like, did you stay with DFin, or are you in other
But
platforms right now?
I'm focused. I've been continually farming root and defin like as the dual pool, so that I'm accumulating both. Because I do believe, especially in root or router, and
Right.
I actually moved over to. I did a little bit of a degen farm. I went into ice off a Titan swap. And I just did a little bit there because I was just looking at its all-time high and where it is, and if it is a bull market, who knows?
Right.
And then
Right.
I bought a horse, which I'll go through, and then I've kind of or moved the money into stuff that I need to purchase if I move forward with this.
So can we talk about this for a second? How like okay? Do you mind me asking how much you've spent on this horse? Is that too much? The only reason I'm asking is because I would like to
It was like
see if this
three.
is something that I'd actually want to put some money into and buy a
Yeah,
horse myself.
it was a little under $400. I got not like the most expensive one, not the top breed in that. I just kind of want to get my feet wet. And I actually went to bed. I put the bid in on Wednesday on a couple, and I woke up Thursday. And I was going through my emails before I went to work, and it said like you've just made a purchase on OpenSea. And I've got children, so I didn't even have time to look. So like getting them breakfast, getting them to daycare, getting myself to work and my wife, and then as I'm walking to work, I'm like, oh, there it is. And do you want me to share my screen? Kind of
Yeah.
walk it through.
Let's go through it.
Okay. I'll start like just with the site itself.
Okay.
A little down. It's probably the best. So can you see my screen?
Bear with me here. I'm just gonna switch over. All right. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So it's z.run.io, and this is a racing game or a horse racing game on. Here, I can do that on the blockchain. So it originally started on Ethereum, but it moved to Matic, I think, about 8 weeks ago, approximately. And so what you're seeing here is this is the first generation Genesis horse, and there's only ever going to be 28,000 or 38,000 of these ever. So these are the top breed that you can ever have. And then within those levels, you've got bloodlines. And as you can see, the top bloodline is Nakamoto. And there's going to be 4. So here it's Zebu, I think it's Zebu, but there. And then you've got Finny, as well as Buterin. And this is the breed or bloodline that I got because it was the least expensive to get into. And so these are 4 different bloodlines of the horses themselves. But then you'll see in here in the ecosystem, there's bloodline as well as genome type. And so a Z1 would be the original drop of the Genesis horse. And if you had a Z1, when you mate it with another horse or breed it with another horse, they combine those 2 numbers to make the next number. So say you put a 1 and a 5 together, that horse would be a Z6. What that means is it's the closest to the original bloodline of this particular horse. So depending on what you get and where you go, you would have different options of who you want to work with. So the next part is racing. So this is what actually originally brought me here was the racing. And sorry, my wallet's not working out right now. So
No worries. This is what, like, when I saw the racing, I was kind of blown away, and then
yeah,
I heard you go into all the breeding aspects, and I've always like been fascinated with just random stuff in life that I don't do, right. Like, I've always been in the city, and like all I can think of is, oh, breeding horses. That'd be really cool. Like, I'd really like to do it. I've
so
always wanted to like own property and have animals, right? So.
I've never seen that before. But when I clicked on Marketplace, I've
Hmm.
never seen it actually flash like that with possible horses. That makes me kind of excited. But this is where you would get it off a drop from Zed. This is where you would get different breeds. I believe it is random when you buy one. And this would be where they're all a certain price. So this would be where you could get a very high-end horse for not as much money.
Right.
And then after that, you would head to OpenSea is one of them. So I pulled this up, and this is the marketplace for Zed. So what you can see here is when I was looking for it, I was searching based on I wanted a Genesis, which is the most rare, and I
Hmm.
wanted a stallion because what you can actually do is you can breed these horses. If you wanted to, and I had a stallion, I could put it up and say, this is how much it is to breed with my horse. And everyone who wants to find someone to breed, or you would go through and see like what different characteristics, and that's where people are going to look at the Z line, whether it's a Genesis, the next level here, and you can see here. I'm very new to OpenSea. It was the first thing I've ever bought on OpenSea. Right here, you can see the different bloodlines. But then these are the breed types. So Genesis is the ones that are the top of the top, the most rare, and that are the originals that will only ever be, I believe it's 38,000. Next is Legendary, and you would get a Legendary mating two Genesis together. Or I believe if you mate a Genesis with a Legendary, it maintains its Legendary status. And then the next level would be exclusive. And the
So
next
when
level
this
would
is
be elite.
breeding, is it like not random, but is it all based on like the two bloodlines of the two different horses, and like could produce this legendary or could produce something else?
What it is the class will always be based on who's been who the mother and the father is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put two legendaries together, you would get an exclusive. If you
Okay.
put two exclusives together, you would get an elite. But I believe if you made a Genesis with any horse, the offspring would maintain the level of the lower horse. So my kind of strategy from one of the videos I was looking at, and what I'm looking to do is to get two or three, it'd be either foals or mares, and to get them at the legendary level and buy a Genesis and mate them with them because then they'd maintain their legendary. At least that's what my goal is. I've only accumulated one horse so far, but before I show you that, you can also see here there's a huge number of different kind of coats, and each coat will depend on the rarity. And then what you'll see here is coat is an unbred male. A filly is, pardon me, the filly is the unbred female, and then the mare is a bred female, and the stallion is a bred male. People, when they're breeding, are also going to be looking at if the horse is racing and what their odds are. And if you have a horse that does really well, or say in the first couple races has great odds, you can definitely charge more for breeding because that's the traits they want. But in the breeding, because the game's so new, I believe it's about 2 years old, and I've only recently, I think I learned about 8 weeks ago. They still don't know everything about the game as players and participants because it's still new. So they don't know if there is a set way to get better results. So
Right.
everyone's just kind of taking a guess. And one of my strategies that I was going to do is there's a thing called super coats. So if
Mm-hmm.
you breed parents that have the same color coat, and then they produce the same kind of coat in their offspring, that's considered a super coat, and it's more rare. And then so one of my ideas was to try and do something that might be appealing and do super coats that people, especially getting in, might be interested in. And then especially if you're breeding for that, maybe you get a racer. But this is so just you'll see the name of this horse. When I bought this horse and put an offer in, its name was Unnamed Foal. So today, actually, before I logged in, I pulled open my wallet to show and to share with you, and I had this lovely aim of big dick energy to my female horse. So this is
Amazing.
this is something new. I'm not sure if it's because when I saw the go through transaction in that, it still was unnamed, and I wonder if I needed to name it quicker. I have no idea. But this is the horse I got. I believe it was around $380. I think I got a good deal, and I'm wondering if, because I got a good deal and no one else really offered for it, if this was the previous owner's kind of like, here's your gift for not paying me what I wanted. I don't know. So this is the first horse of my stall and of my barn, and I was kind of planning on maybe keeping this one forever. I'm not sure about it now. We'll see how it does and so on. But what you'll see here is it's owned by me. The price history, let's see what it is. Maybe I'm underestimating. So that's the average right there. And I paid approximately that because I got it a few days ago. I'm not listing it right now. And so right here you'll see that its bloodline is a Buterin. It's a legendary. It's a buff gold. It's a filly, which means it's never been bred, and its genome is Z19. So if this was bred between, say, two Genesis horses, it would have been like a Z10 and a Z9, something like that. And that just is about when I believe the drops are and how far up the line to the most pure bloodline there is.
Right. So do you are you gonna be able to sell every one of the horses that you breed? Like how does?
So I think it depends on how you're going to want to go about it, right? Because if you price them out of the market, I don't think anyone's going to want them. There, we'll just, maybe I can get this going. I'm not too sure why this isn't working.
Yeah, so Jared, these horses are NFTs, but also the added benefit that you can race them. So it's a little interesting.
Maybe I should give up my screen share if you want to go and try and get the site to show a race. Because I'm having.
How do you?
If you go to z.run.
Yeah.
Okay, so right here though, what I'm showing you here is this is the stud fee. The stud section of the site. So this is Zrun itself. And you can see it's a legendary, it's a Genesis, and they're telling you how much it would be to breed this horse. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going after the female, because as a male, you can stud out a male. If you have the female, that offspring is yours. So say I start with 3, and I have, and I start breeding them, each one of those horses would be in my, in my barn or in my stable. And then it would be, I'm actually more, interested in kind of trading with people. I don't know how that would go, but I just started with Discord. I'm sure there's a section in Discord, but I would love to especially maybe trade people studs. If I had, a Genesis, or trade the horse itself to bring new blood in, a new line in.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because you're talking a lot about, a lot of people don't know, which in my experience, because I'm an avid gamer, if people don't know, then they're often theory crafting somewhere, right? They probably even have a Discord themselves. Like, I'm sure Z.Run has a Discord that people are chatting. Yeah, I see the link right here actually at the bottom of the website. Here, let me close the stream and I'll switch over.
I just jumped off, I think.
Yeah, no worries. You did perfect. So let me just switch over, and I'm gonna show, because I have the home screen here, guys, and I think we have races going on.
So right before I came out here, I was watching the F1 qualifying, and I love racing. I used to watch a little bit of horse racing where I grew up, just because it wasn't too far away, and that's what originally brought me in here. And then it was like, oh, you can breed. You could recover your investment and possibly breed an absolute, racer. I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah,
no, that's really cool. I think the moment that I saw it, I'm just like, damn, this is actually really, really interesting, really cool. Because you often get the whole thing of what can you do with an NFT?
Exactly.
What are you able to do? Well, here you are. You're able to breed it. You can race them. People want to buy your horses apparently, so. I just think it's a fascinating concept.
And it's, I believe, a little over 50% of the Genesis have been released, so it's still not over. Like, they're not all released. So,
Yeah, that's crazy. So what if what's your plan at this point right now? You're just gonna build up your stable and try to breed, or
yeah, so the plan is I'm going to try and pick up unnamed foals, not ones that are named. I might actually just bite the bullet and go with named ones, because then I won't get, a less enjoyable name when I
right?
finally earn it. But and then I hope to get a Genesis. I was going to get a Genesis male Buterin, but I'm going to try and get them all so they're the same color.
So
So the ones
how do you get a Genesis? Like what's the
you
process
just
in that?
so when you go on OpenSea, you just search Genesis, and you'll know based on price that they're the higher value. So
Right, but you can't breed a Genesis. I'm assuming
so
I
the
guess
next
that's
level would be legendary, and that's why I'm targeting the legendary fillies, so that I could breed them with a Genesis to maintain that ranking. I
right.
started with Buterin just because I don't want to jump in with, you know, thousands of dollars and then be like, I don't like this. This isn't so cool. Because then you're less likely to sell them. And, the big thing is I would like to recover my investment
Right.
so that I could maybe start adding more, and that because I think there is another, on Crypto Night, someone mentioned there was another one. It's like AR Racer or something. I got to look it up. But there's not much competition. There is some. But pardon the pun, they are very far ahead. They
Right.
are leading the charge.
Right.
They've
And
been,
I
I think
think
it's 2 years they've been
like
running.
this is where we're going in terms of like cryptocurrency, NFTs, and some sort of gaming or gambling. Like this is exactly the starts of it.
So like
Right. So
I don't believe there's any gambling yet. But I have no doubt that they'll start taking wagers for people watching the races. Like that's all part of horse racing. They're supposed to be bringing different track sizes, like going to a more traditional shape.
yep.
And there's probably all kinds of things, as well as they're going to start. I think they might even ran it the first tournament, where they race multiple times to create the winner and so on. And that's because they just recently added fatigue. So they're
Right.
slowly adding more and more equations. So after you figure out what you're doing and they add another variable, it should change again, which is, I just think it's going to be something that's going to keep me interested.
Right. I think Redbeard is saying that D race is apparently the one.
Race.
Yeah. I think that's cool. I think this is fascinating because I've always wondered like, okay, like what are you doing with NFTs? And that's really cool. I was explaining to my little brother over the weekend, or over the last couple of days, sorry, that about the tulip crash, back when tulips were going up, and basically like explaining that with some NFTs, because you see like the rock NFT, like yeah, so
I was talking to Tim. He's like, I got out of lots of stuff when I saw rock go for over $1 million, because he thought that was the top. He thought that was a top signal. He was like, I was very tentative after I saw these rocks going for that kind of money.
yeah, that's a lot of money for an NFT.
I hope they
Yeah.
sell it for an ETH in a year.
Yeah, I mean, like, and ETH is like going up, so like NFT prices have to go down against ETH, like, and that's one thing that I can't look right. Like, there's no general index of NFTs. That'd be interesting to do though. Somebody needs to do that, because if we look at the ETH price, we're almost at $4,000 for Ethereum.
I think that's
So
why
like,
it took me so long to get a horse, because I was like, I don't want to sell ETH.
so are you noticing that the prices of horses per
Yeah.
ETH are going down, or are they just staying at the
So I
same
think
price of ETH?
I think it depends on who's selling, right? Because there's
Right.
different people. Some people are just going to put it up, say this is my number, and if ETH goes up or down, that's the number. And I think when I first started looking was when the more recent kind of drop happened. That would have been a really good time to jump in, right? But
Yeah.
it's tough to say, hey, let's go buy this, and everything else is dropping. But the one aspect I like about it is it's not a coin. right?
Yeah.
Like it's a blockchain game, but it's not crypto. And I feel like that might make it a little bit easier for people to get into it. I went camping with some friends a few weekends ago, and they were very much against crypto, and I was kind of shocked. I thought, university, they're actually a little bit younger than me.
Yeah, so maybe they're more adept to cryptocurrency.
Like I said, my dad's always been a fiddler, so I guess I got that because I love technology, and I love a new TV and checking out the settings, and so.
Yeah, like I had one friend that was really bearish on crypto when I was talking to him, and he kept on saying, "Oh, I bought Bitcoin when it was at like 16K. Look at it now." And this is back like at like March when Bitcoin was like down to 3K. Like it was death and destruction kind of days. And I'm just like, but like that's not representative of where Bitcoin's going to go in the long term. Anyway, I saw him again when Bitcoin was at around 32,000 when it was just going up the first time. And he's just like, you were right about that Bitcoin stuff, eh? And I'm like, it's not that I'm right. It's how mathematics work. And if you're going to get shooken out of the market, that's kind of on you. I think a lot of people like have that anxiety about things that are new and things that cost money, and they see the big price tag on something like Bitcoin or Ethereum. But they don't understand that they can buy it fractionally, right? So there's that disconnect.
The correction really taught me that I'm not a trader, and I'm definitely changing my strategy now. Like I buy something because I believe in it, and if I'm gonna sell, it's because I'm taking profits. I'm not gonna be like, oh, look at this chart, because I'm terrible at it. I also work. I also it's not gonna work for me. Maybe in the future, but that's why I bought that. I believe in it. ETH. I've been holding ETH for a while. I believe in ETH just because it really does have network effect. I am kind of kicking myself. I was thinking about jumping in on Solana when during the crash, but I was like so tentative, right? But I was like, I don't know.
So here's the thing. I get this all the time, and there's articles about it talking about how Ethereum's going to be overturned by, say, Solana, Cardano, Polkadot, and all these other chains. And some of the chains that I'm actually pretty bullish on, like Cardano and Polkadot, for example. Now, Ethereum's not going anywhere, and that's what I don't think enough people understand. Ethereum is not going anywhere. Is Solana going to do very well in the future? Yes, absolutely. Is Cardano and Polkadot going to do well? Yeah, for sure. But is Ethereum also going to do well too? Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. J.P. Morgan is literally calling it a safer asset to put money into than Bitcoin in terms of growth long term. So like when you look at like a smart contract platform like Ethereum becoming a pseudo store of value, almost as secure as Bitcoin, that's pretty incredible. It's not going to go away. Simply because Solana has a better platform. I think Ethereum's always going to have a place.
It has such a head start, right? And usually with big corporations, they want to go with the leaders, the safe bets, right? So, and if you look at how many layer 2s there is so much infrastructure going into developing on top of ETH and scaling solutions. Like, I don't think you can really stop it, because if you're going to stop ETH, then you're stopping Matic and Phantom. All these other coins are gone.
Yeah. Well, like ETH 2.0, some people always say that ETH 2.0 is going to destroy Layer 2. And that's not at all what's going to happen. I think Vitalik Buterin said exactly that ETH 2.0 will enhance Layer 2, not destroy it. So
Coinbase just went to Matic, right, to settle their transactions faster. Like, if they're going to Matic, I don't think it's going anywhere.
Even I'm like crypto mining. Like I'm crypto mining on my PC actively or passively, I should say. And I literally I throw it in Polygon Matic Aave. I get paid out through Polygon. They don't pay me through ETH. It's incredible. Right. So yeah, like what Matic is doing, and I think there was a question there about Matic and what's the price prediction for Matic. I really don't have a good prediction, but I mean, what is it right now? $1.50? Like I can easily see a token like that moving to $10, and that's being like a little conservative, I would say, by the end of this cycle. Because if you look at where it is now, like we're up in the top areas of the chart. So let's see, Matic. I think what are we? Yeah, I was gonna say 16.
I'm just hitting
so
refresh. It's one I watch. I watch a lot of Matic. I'm a fan of Matic and the whole ecosystem.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
165. So it's gone up since I bought it today this morning.
Yeah, well, it's up
Hey.
12% right now. So like where is it going to go? If you look at the token supply, what do we have? Max supply of 10 billion tokens, which isn't too terrible. The circulating supply is 6.6 billion, and the total market cap right now is 10.9 billion, which is nothing. It's peanuts. In the
Matic's
grand
been
scheme of it.
lagging. In the previous cycle or mini cycle we kind of had, it lagged a lot.
Matic had its pump, but it hasn't pumped since all the other coins have taken off. Like we've seen Ethereum take off, we've seen Cardano and Polkadot, Solana.
Cardano hasn't stopped.
Cardano hasn't stopped.
It's like a rock going down a hill right now.
Well, like I love the crash, and we'll take a look at the Cardano chart while we talk about this, because I love the crash. Because like if you held Cardano, and I know some Cardano maxis, I know people that only hold Cardano. If you held Cardano, you were like, what crash? Like, what are you guys talking about? I'm fine, Like Cardano barely dipped. Like it's incredible what Cardano did. Like I think the lowest it got was that like dollar or 99 cents range, like that one big dip on the first day. Other than that, we never went below $1 after that. And ADA held strong, and now here we are at $2.91 and just tickling that $3 ADA. Which
do you think you're gonna hit a lot of resistance at 3, or do you think it
I
flips?
think so. The thing is, we have an emotional barrier at 3, right? Like anytime you have a number like that, $3, even like say something hitting $400 and $420. Sorry, like it's all emotional because humans think there's some value in a specific number. Now that being said, there are some other things that are dictating everything. Like Bitcoin kind of like dipped a little bit like last night after its close, but it's been just trading levels, so there's really nothing showing why Cardano would be taken down too far. I see Cardano hopping above the $3, probably getting up to like a 315 range, and getting comfortable before a shoot up. Some people are calling for a $3.60 ADA. So I guess we'll see too, and it's also interesting to see if like what's the price going to be in the next month or in the next 2 months, and is the market going to dip, or is everything going to keep going up?
I think
but
if
right
they
now,
if they hit that target, it's gonna just blow up. Because
we have Alonzo.
I stayed away because I had a little bit. I did well. I actually made some money. It was one of the first trades that I actually made. And then I heard I heard all these people like it hasn't done it, it's delayed, and now I'm looking, I'm like, wow, like if they hit that target, it's gone.
Yeah, yeah.
You think Solana went? Right?
See, that's the thing, and Solana, like I get the criticism because I think I did a video of somebody criticizing Cardano and Polkadot, but I get the criticism of like ADA hasn't done much. But once it has, like once we have NFT gaming, like we just looked at the horses, right? I've talked about Decentraland. Like once Cardano does have NFT and gaming, once they do have the floodgates open with smart contracts and DeFi platforms, and you're able to earn a yield like we are on PolkaSwap or DeFin or whatever other protocol we're using, Aave, whatever it is, peer-to-peer lending, like once all that is open, yeah, Cardano is going to soar, and I don't think people understand that. So like I'm fine to hold the majority of my Cardano long term, and especially as Alonzo's coming out right around the corner. So
you think they're gonna hit? Do you think they're gonna hit it?
I think so. It sounds like everything's in order. We're getting tweets from Charles and the team, and so far everything's passed through testnet. So they said that as of the last thing that I heard, which was a day ago, 2 days ago, they said that they're on track to hit their September, I think it was 12th or 16th date. So there was a tweet out about it, but let me see if I can locate that here. Let's see. No, I won't be able to find it. But I do think that we're going to hit that time. Now, the thing about Cardano is once we do hit that day, like we're probably going to see some volatility that day. I'm no idea if it's going to be to the upside or the downside. But right now is where like this increase that we're seeing is because of Alonzo. So right now it's kind of the news pushing up the price on top of everything else. Like of course, the market being as healthy as it is has definitely helped. But this increase and going right past our all-time high and just kind of floating up into price discovery for a couple of days, that's because of Alonzo coming right around the corner. So whatever happens in Alonzo that day is just going to be a speculative shit show, and I wouldn't trade specifically on that day. But like if you believe in Cardano long term, then like even looking at something like Polkadot, somebody said this the other day, and I agree. Even a $30 Polkadot is cheap considering it was at $50. But I still think that even a $2.90 ADA is cheap on some level, depending on how long you're willing to hold the token for. Now, of course, I'm not buying any Cardano right now. I haven't bought any Cardano for a while after this pump up from the dip. But I did buy like a long, like when we went down. Not a lot though, because Cardano really didn't dip that much. And I'm used to buying Cardano like sub $1. So it's just, seeing it at this price, like I'm not in the market to really like buy dramatically, but I mean, if you don't have any, like just know that Cardano is going to be coming through a huge increase over the next little while, even over the next year. So it's going to do incredible.
What's your hold plan? Like, are you long term? Are you staking?
So right now I'm staking all of my Cardano on Daedalus. So the Daedalus wallet comes from the Cardano team. What I plan to do from there is basically stake it into different stake pool protocols for new projects coming out, new dApps. One on my radar is Sunday Swap. We have 8x coming out. And a few others. So they're going to be putting up their stake pools to stake and earn their native token with your Cardano. Obviously, this kind of has to come with some research to make sure that you're not going into anything crappy. But it is what it is with this space. Unfortunately, there's a lot of shit amongst the good tokens. And then after that, I'm just going to do exactly what I've been doing for like Polkadot with like P-Swap and everything else. I've been moving all my HODL funds around and start utilizing some to play with the different protocols like Akala, like PolkaSwap. So I'm basically going to do the same thing with my Cardano, take a piece of my Cardano and just start flushing it around all these different protocols and start entering some markets, right? The thing that I've learned like early on in my crypto time is take risks and get in early because that's really the way to really profit. And I learned that after the MetaMask thing, when MetaMask, everyone got a Uni token airdrop to them simply for using MetaMask and Uniswap. And like I was at the skill level to use MetaMask. I was just so reluctant to like, I don't want to use Uniswap. I don't want to use I was just so reluctant to it. And if I had just done it, I would have had 1,400 Uni tokens. That's a lot to miss out on. So ever since then, I was just like, okay, like it's time to take some risks. And when I see a protocol like, say, PolkaSwap is the last thing that I was super bullish on. I'm gonna dump as much as I can into there that makes me comfortable. It's not sacrificing my HODL bag because I still find that important. And now I'm earning a yield, like I'm earning P-Swap tokens that I think are going to appreciate in the future because of the burn structure. It's going to be the same thing that I find with Cardano. I'm going to go into projects that I have a long-term idea with and start going in with my ADA and earn from there. So I think that's the general strategy when Cardano pops up like that. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of why I'm jumping on this. I've been trying to push the Zed run out of my mind, and just kept coming back. And I was like, you know what? It's still super early, and my big thing is I'm really going to try and pay attention to the Twitter and when the actual drop from Zed run is coming, because that's when you could get a Nakamoto, and wow, like
yeah,
that would be the first step and so
Yeah.
on. And like I've been following a few channels. I just got an email, and this one channel gives away horses.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to give one away every month, and
So
it's
all
like,
said and done, like how much are you thinking you're gonna have to spend here to like get everything operational?
I was thinking about $2,400, $2,500,
And that'll get you enough
and that's
to
everything
like have a
going well for me. That'd be 3 foals, or possibly already raced bred horses,
right.
and 1 Genesis. And the Genesis is also kind of like, I would get that and hold it because there's only ever 36,000 or 38,000. I can't remember. It's in the 30s. But like that would be one I'd want because it is a Genesis. The
Right.
other ones would be, okay, if I breed that Genesis, I can start selling them. And if I sell them and I do okay, maybe I can get my investment back. And then at that point, it'll be like, okay, now I've got some profit. Let's do this.
Right. And then once you're playing with house money, I mean, like that's just beautiful.
What
right?
I'd like to do is I'd love to be able to get to every bloodline,
Right.
and kind of start and work my way up. It'd be really cool to be able to do that. And the breeding resets every 30 days.
Yeah.
So like, you would just have to keep track and so on. But, few
Yeah.
steps.
I think it's cool because to Jared in chat, yeah, $8 ADA, absolutely, it's coming. That's at least for anyone on here today. That's at least my price prediction is roughly an $8 ADA. I mean, like top end, you could probably see 10. But the
Is that
really
this year?
exciting. Long
term?
See that is a totally different question because a lot of people would say that the market. Okay, here's my opinion on this. A lot of people say that the market cycle is going to end in September. I think we're probably going to go into 2022 before we see a market peak. And if I'm wrong and we peak in September, I'm ready to take profits. I'm ready to like go into gold and stablecoin and protect my future. Like absolutely, if everything starts pumping up at an incredible rate, then yeah, I'm gonna take profits like anyone, like everyone should at something like that. If we hit that top of the rainbow or getting close to that euphoric phase. Now, that being said, I don't think we're going there. I think we're going to be dealing with a little bit of a longer cycle than last cycle, which we've seen traditionally with cycles before. Each cycle has been traditionally a little bit longer than the last. So I think that's ultimately what's going to happen, that we're probably going to go into sometime in 2022. My guess is sometime like fall, close to the new year of 2022 going into 2023. So...
I hope you're right.
Sorry?
I hope you're right. That means it might be a super cycle.
Well, I think that I don't think we're going to see as incredible as a rise. Like, I mean, like we are going to see the top of the band will be higher at that point, based on how long it goes. But like, I think like realistically, if something like that does play out, we could probably see somewhere between like a $250,000 and $150,000 Bitcoin, give or take, depending on that's roughly the range. I mean, like 300,000 sounds nice, but that's a lot. I mean, I'm not gonna put anything against it. Some people said that 15K Bitcoin was going to be the peak in 2017, and obviously it went up to 19,000. So we really don't know, right? Like who knows these things at the end of the day. The big thing to recognize is that we can look at past market cycles and kind of guess from there what's going to happen this cycle. And we do know a couple of things, that traditionally the cycles are getting longer and longer and longer. Or it looks like it, at least. But a lot of people are saying that it's more dictated to stock to flow and to the happening. So both theories are valid, but I would say both of them are just theories, because a lot of people talk about stock to flow as if this is fact and we're absolutely going to hit a market peak in September. And I just would err on the side of caution for speaking in absolutes, because even I'm saying that there's a non-negligible chance that we hit a market peak in September. It's always possible. That being said, I'm open to all probabilities, right? So I think not enough people are, and they're like, no, market peak in September sounds good. That's what's going to happen. So get ready, boys. And if it's as simple as just putting down a bunch of money on the happenings and doing nothing for the rest of my life, I mean, sure, I'll take that too. So we have right now we're still battling with that $50,000 Bitcoin. Cardano is sitting at $2.91. One big thing that I wanted to talk about with Cardano and the price of $8, this Zed Run stuff, and all the other cool NFT stuff is this is all coming to Cardano. This is all coming to things like Polkadot. This is all going to be on Solana too, right? So it's not just going to be Ethereum. And if you find a good protocol that's doing something crazy or really exciting, that's something that you should at least dabble into, at least take a little risk in some regard. I mean, like don't bet the farm, of course, right? Like I'm sure Neil can absolutely go into the horses and not be worried about his financial future. That would be my recommendation with any sort of NFT play, but. Yeah, I don't know. I see this as like a super interesting thing for a lot of people to at least have on their radar if they're not like investing in it.
Just other opportunities. Like there's gonna be similar things that come out with this that have that multiple purpose, right? And I think it's definitely the racing that got me excited. But then when it was like, oh, you can breed and you can purchase horses, I was like, wow, like this is a lot different than my NFTs I bought on my VV app, right?
Yeah. Like I know it's weird and I get flack for saying this, right? But like we're in such a new kind of world in terms of like virtual and everything else. And like I really do believe that in a lot of ways some people would much rather a virtual job in a virtual world or having a more virtual life than their actual real life. And I'm speaking maybe as like a gamer, maybe as a more of that perspective. But there's a lot of people that would actually enjoy that, and there's a real economy in the virtual world. And I think that's why stuff like this like is so like interesting to me, because I see the potential. Like maybe we're not there yet, but 10 years down the road, yeah, like, virtual horse betting, in a bar, it might actually be a thing, right? Like we see NFTs being this big talking point right now. Even my little brother was asking me the other day. He's like, "Yo, what's an NFT?" And I'm like, "Okay, like we have to have this discussion here." And so I explained what it is, but it's like everyone is asking about NFTs and cryptocurrency. So I think everyone's just intrigued right now. But like really what it can do is kind of incredible. Like where do you see at least the horse stuff? Like what do you see this going to?
Well, I think this is going to be apparently I haven't seen hard data on that, but a lot of people are coming into the space, and so I think that this is going to take off. I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to start seeing this as not only a fun hobby, but something that like you could actually maybe make a little bit of passive income on, and or at least make your money back. And that's big. Like being able to kind of entertain yourself without spending a ton of money. The one thing is for sure is the startup costs. Like I want to start breeding to increase my stable, but you could easily just get in, buy a horse and just start racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is all random, and just because your horse might be, a Buterin and an elite doesn't mean it might not all of a sudden get really crazy statistics and become a high-end racehorse. And so one of the things in the race is they simulated 1,000 times, and they pick one of those simulation as a result. So every race has been run 1,000 times before they actually do it.
Right.
So
right. So it like kind of simulates
mathematical.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so if you find the correct equation.
So it goes by the highest probability that your horse is going to win, then that they're going to win. Like if it lines up and it does like 1,000 simulations, it's like, okay, you won like, I don't know, 50% of those simulations. Like you obviously won. So at that point you win the race that everyone sees. So that's kind of how that works. Cool.
Yeah, something like that. So, and what it would be is it just randomly picks one of those, and that's the result. So if you have higher odds, you're definitely more likely, and that's why you'll see the one that you'll see on the site I didn't talk about. It's called Know Your Horses, and that's where if you were going to buy a horse, you just search the horse's name on the site, and you can actually go through and see what it is, how many times it's been raced, has it been bred, who it's been bred by, that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting it's just a full world that's like outside. And to go on your point about, the virtual world and people would prefer it, think about where you get to pick your coworkers. Right? So, we're chatting in this. That's because we've chosen to come online and chat about something we're both interested, right?
Yeah.
When you go into a workforce, depending
You have
on
no
how big or
control.
small, like this is your manager.
Yeah.
This is the person that works right next to you. This is the person who you have to work with on a distance, right? So
Yeah.
I think the virtual world will appeal because you'll be able to kind of control your environment more.
Yeah. No,
Right?
that's super interesting that you say that, because like I personally have like a lot of experiences with that in the workplace, like especially like some of the jobs that I've worked at. Everyone has that like toxic, job, like just that toxic human being that's there always like gossiping and causing crap, and it's just like, oh, I just want to get my job done. Like everyone's had that person or that really
Just
crappy
came
boss.
here to work. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Exactly.
came here to work, man. Like I'm not here to cause any trouble. Like let's
I'd
chill.
rather, and it's my whole thing is like I'd love to become friends with coworkers. Like if you don't really get along with them, I'm going to be
Not
professional.
every
You'll work
not
hard.
every
Yeah.
personality is gonna mesh. Yeah, completely. Yeah, so
You could really focus on what makes you happy. And I think, it's funny because when I brought this all up, the dancers are talking about putting my ranch into Central Land. And it's like, man, I wish I could. Like, I wish I had.
I wonder
all
if
these
there would
funds.
actually be a way to integrate that. Maybe it's not with Decentraland. Maybe it's like something else, or like it's just like
So I have a feeling that sooner or later you'll be able to see probably these horses because they're in my wallet
yeah.
somewhere to display them. You know how they say in Decentraland and OVR and that, like you can display. Well, maybe I got my horses on the
Yeah.
ranch, right?
Yeah.
And they're just walking around, like, and it's just, I think it's just extremely cool what
Yeah.
you could do. Like, I could never own a racehorse.
Yeah. Yeah, and
No way.
Jared's
Might be
saying
able
it
to.
best. Jared's saying it best with I despise the idea of becoming friends with my coworkers, and I feel that because this it's difficult because you cannot pick it, right? And I think that's just like such an interesting perspective that like, hey, here we are like picking who we work with, right? Instead of like having people that just don't mesh well, or just are at different points in their lives, right? Like I know like my current team at the job that I currently am, like everyone's like married, kids, like in later on in life, where I'm just like kind of a young guy, 31 years old, right? So it's different. I don't have any like connections to my coworkers. So what am I supposed to do? Like become like
I'd say
super friends with them, right?
everywhere I go, probably less than 10%, maybe 5%, you actually have you acquire a friendship at work, but it's like one or two people over years.
Yeah.
You'll be friendly with coworkers and you get along with them.
Yeah,
but
completely.
for sure. But it just where there's the ones that it's like, yes.
I'm not like texting you outside of work and like having that friendship with you, right? Like I've had those friendships. There's a friend of mine that I'm still like friends with to this day for like years and years since we worked together. So like you build those, sure, but like those are rare, right? So it's just the majority of it is just like the crypto world, all shit, right? So
Yeah, I think the virtual world has just been, it really changed my perspective with COVID.
yeah,
Because of all of the how you had to become inward focused, you had to stay in. How do you find it? And then everything started opening up. It took me a while to come around, but I'm really thankful to do it because it's tough just being at home all the time,
yeah,
and just going to work all the time and nothing else.
yeah, and that's one big thing that drew me to crypto. Like I know, like okay, so I started. It's funny because I lost a bunch of weight in 2019, regained some because COVID. All right, it's happened to everyone. But during that time, I was like hanging out in bodybuilding forums and everything else, and that's when I started reading up about the COVID virus that was happening. And this was back in like September, like very early days. So I kind of saw it, but I like it wasn't on my radar that hey, this is going to be a big deal. Once we got into it, and I've always been like bullish on the idea of VR. I've always been bullish on like the virtual kind of ideology. But once like it all happened and I got sent home, that kind of like really hit home for me that holy crap, like we are like this could be the push to go virtual. Like this could absolutely be it. Nobody wants to be in public anymore, at the same degree, and especially then, right? Like everyone was still scared. They didn't know like all that much about the virus. There's really like not enough information for everyone to make an adequate like idea of like the risk of just going out shopping, right? Obviously, mask up, whatever. At this point, everyone takes their own precautions, and everyone has their own opinions. But I still think that there's that growing need even now, even on the upswing, if you can call it, for the pandemic, that we should go virtual, and have a more virtual presence. And I think there's an openness there that people are like understanding the exact growth of something like a virtual world and Decentraland and NFTs. I think it's incredible. Do I like Sandbox? I don't know. I don't know what Sandbox is, Redbeard. I'll take a look. I'll do some reading up. I think you mentioned that before too, so my bad. But do you know Sandbox?
I haven't really played with it, but I think it's similar to a Decentraland, like in a similar like you go there
Right.
to meet, and it's a metaverse, I think. I
Right.
don't know though. I haven't really looked into it. Could be very, very wrong.
We will say though, because Jared just brings this up, we did get a bit of a dip on the 15-minute candle here for Cardano, dipped down to $2.84. And it looks like it's just isolated to Cardano because Bitcoin's still stable. We have Ethereum still stable. So again, I wouldn't be too concerned. We'll see what happens in the next little while, but I'm not overly concerned with the short-term price moves. And like you've heard this a lot on the channel too, for everyone involved. Like I at least like understand a little bit of TA. Like I'm no like TA master, right? Like I get some things, right, and I'm able to understand some trends. That being said, I don't trade on the information that I go off of. I'm strictly a fundamental long-term investor, and I just read charts because I think it's interesting to make predictions of short-term and analyze crashes, and then make general kind of long-term predictions, like my $8 Cardano prediction that we've discussed. So, I'm no master, and I don't trade on my information. I strictly buy and hold and get ready to dollar cost average sell when I'm ready to sell. So that's about it for me. So Neil, I guess we'll start to wrap it up. But what would you say are the next steps right now for the horses, and then we'll kind of close it out.
Well, I gotta get. I want at least one more full before I go and get a Genesis. I'm trying to do the same coats, to do the super coat, just to try and increase the rarity, especially because I didn't go with the most rare. And then at some point I'm gonna enter a race. The first race is free, as long as the horse has never been raced before. So at some point I will race just to check it out. But I'm just. So
how much is it after it's raced?
I've seen as little as like $2 and something.
Okay.
And as high as I think I saw, I think it was $180. I'm sure there's some much higher stakes.
And what's more expensive, like a horse that hasn't been raced, or a horse that has been raced and is a bit seasoned?
It would just depend on how strong of a racer that horse is and the bloodline. So if I had a horse that was unraced, but it's a Buterin and a Legendary, and you had one that's been raced, but it's a Nakamoto and a Genesis, obviously that one's way more valuable. Right. A lot of people are trying to, kind of trying to pick studs that are good racers.
So when you get a horse, like, do you know like how it's going to be, or like do you just have to race it and hope that it's going to be good?
It would depend. Like if they've already been raced, you'd have some statistics on that, but they are talking about reducing those statistics after your first race, so you have to race more. Some people take the free race and say, hey, this is a winner, and put a giant price on it. One strategy, if you did want to get involved and to recover some of your money, would be to buy a stallion or a colt and race them and then stud them out.
Right.
Especially
Okay.
if you bought them as an unraced horse and then you raced them and they were really strong. You raced a couple times, they did well. You might want to stop racing and then just stud them out.
Right.
There's so many strategies from the different ones that I've seen that it just depends on the luck of the draw. And one thing I have been doing is looking for recently listed. And the one thing with OpenSea is not all of them will accept the listed price right away. So one of the things I was trying to do was to buy the horses right away so that I wouldn't have something like the name happen. I'm wondering if that was just they named it before they got rid of it, but that's the goal, is to get.
So is there someone that you
horses.
can reach out for something like that to have that corrected?
I might look into Zedrun, but once they're named, you can't rename them.
Right.
That's
so you're
it.
kind of stuck with Big Dick Energy.
I'm stuck with Big Dick Energy.
That's unfortunate.
Might actually be, I might as well keep it because it's kind of a hilarious story. But I was gonna probably keep them unnamed because they would be easier to sell later on.
Right.
But
Right.
it is what it is.
Just catching up on chat here, Raf. I see your question up above. I'll answer that. I don't know anything about VRA though. But in terms of BPro, I still hold all my BPro. I held it through the dip. I mean, I put a little bit of money when BPro dipped, but I reiterated back before that I was mainly focused on high caps, so things like Polkadot and whatnot. But I still hold all my BPro. I'm bullish for the long term, as long as they can get their betting platform, get on more clients to build more betting platforms. But who knows? I think anything sub the 400 rank in cryptocurrency cap, which BPro is definitely a high risk cryptocurrency. So don't be betting the farm, but it could do very well in the future. Also, there was a question about MATA, which is Mini Cardano. It's the first biggest Cardano ADA reflection token. I'm going to say I don't know anything about this yet. I'll look into it. First initial things is I think the token supply is a little bit high with 100 billion, but it's not like high enough that I'm too terribly concerned. But I have no idea how any of this works, redistribution of it, or how the amount paid works or anything. So unfortunately, I can't give you like a good idea of that. But I think that's it. We'll go ahead and get ready to wrap it up here. I got salmon fishing this weekend, so super excited to hook into some salmon. What you got? Anything planned for the long weekend here?
Working on the barn and taking care of the kids because my wife's working. So
Right on.
she's not working today. So
Well, there you go. All right. Well, enjoy your Saturday, man. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And see you guys in the chat. Have a good one.
yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Take care.